Hey everyone! So I just learned about a new issue in the garden that I have to be on the lookout for. So I figured I would share that with you because I did not know it was a problem until a couple days ago. So in case it's something that you might be experiencing but you have no idea what it is, hopefully this will be helpful. So let's start back a few weeks ago. I came out to my garden and I noticed what looked like scratches down the legs of my center raised bed, almost like a cat had used it as a cat scratcher, but we don't let our cats out here. I don't think a cat can climb 3 stories up to our deck. So I just kind of noted it and then completely forgot about it. Cut to a couple days ago, I see what I think is a large bee fly towards my raised bed, and it starts kind of picking at the bed and making a small line down one of the other legs. Same bed, different leg. I'll put in the video if I have it. And I was like, so that's new. At least I've never noticed scratches before on any of my raised beds. So the first thing I do is I grab my phone, I go to Google and I type in bee eating wood. And what came up was a lot about carpenter bees, but everything I was reading was talking about how they make holes in the wood, and that's not what was happening. It was doing just a straight line down and then it would fly away. So I didn't think that was what was going on, and then probably within a few minutes another insect flew over to a different part of my bed and started making a line, and this one looked much more like a wasp. So I thought, okay, maybe the first one wasn't a bee, it was a wasp that looked like a bee. So I Google wasp eating wood and I found my answer. So the first thing I saw was an article that had an image that looked almost identical to what I was seeing, with scratch marks all down the wood. And apparently wasps eat wood in order to build their nests. Never have I heard of this before. I haven't ever noticed. We have the wood planks on the decks. We have wood on the side of our house. My raised beds are wood. I've never noticed this happening before, but apparently that is what they do. So apparently there are thousands of different varieties of wasps that eat wood, and this was the first year to discover that I had it here, and they're not technically eating it. So they're chewing the wood, they're mixing it with their saliva, and then that's creating some sort of pulp-like substance that they can then use to go and build their nests. And the very first thing I did after reading this was check under all of my raised beds to make sure there were no nests there, and I didn't see anything. And I had noticed that when the wasps were done chewing on my beds, they were flying to the tree up front, so I'm assuming that's where a nest must be. And there is a technical term for this. It's called girdling, and I don't know if all of the wasps that do this are considered wood wasps or not, but there is a term for wood wasps, for wasps that are eating your wood. Again, all of this completely new to me. So they will eat anything that's wood. That could be your deck, it could be your raised beds, it could be the siding on your house. If you have wood furniture, it could be the furniture as well. Right now, the only thing I can kind of see is the scratches on the raised beds, but I am keeping an eye out for anything else. Now, apparently they can also lay their eggs in the wood, and then the young larvae will eat the wood, but that's not the behavior that I've been noticing, at least. So I obviously needed to figure out, 1, if I needed to do anything about this, and 2, what those things would be. So I pulled up a list here, and here is what the options were for the different articles I read. First was to do nothing, because it's all part of nature, and I definitely don't want to kill the wasps, because as much as I will run from them if I see them in the garden, I know they're pollinators and important to the ecosystem. They also take care of hornworms for me, so I don't want to have to kill them. So doing nothing is a fine option, as long as it's not causing any sort of like structural damage to my raised beds. Right now, I don't notice anything that could be structural damage, but I imagine at some point if they ate enough, it could potentially weaken a leg. I'll take you around in a little bit and give you a tour of where the wasps have eaten away at my raised beds. So doing nothing will be fine for me, again, as long as it's not something that's actually causing damage. So I'm just kind of monitoring right now. In fact, since I saw this happen a few days ago, I actually haven't seen it happen since, and I haven't noticed any new marks. But again, who knows if they will come back or not. So I'm just keeping an eye on it right now. But here are the other solutions I found. Second was to plant spearmint, thyme, eucalyptus, and citronella where you find the wasps, because they don't like these plants. Now I do have some, or what do I have? I have thyme and I have regular mint in the garden, but it's not right next to where they were. I don't want to plant those in my raised bed just to deter them. And also I have no more room in that raised bed, so that is not an option for me. The other solution was to rub a bar of soap on it. It says one application can repel wasps all season. It didn't mention what type of soap. I'm assuming this is either something with the scent or the taste, so maybe it's any soap, maybe it's not. So that's a potential option. Use scents like eucalyptus, peppermint oil, or wormwood. Mix peppermint oil with water and spray it on as a deterrent. So that is something I could definitely do. Probably the easiest was to make some sort of scented spray and spray that all over the beds. And then last was to use fabric softener sheets because wasps don't like the scent, and apparently it also works for mosquitoes. All of this is incredibly interesting information. I do have the fabric softener sheets, so if I notice it becoming a problem or more of a problem than it is right now, I'll probably just like put them in jars and kind of place them around where they are eating. But like I said, for now, this is just kind of a monitor situation and see what happens. But I never knew this was something I had to be worried about in my garden. So when I kind of figured out what was going on, it was all new to me. So let me take you around right now and I'll show you kind of where they have been eating so far. So these right here were the first scratch marks I noticed, and you can see there's a lot of them on this bed. Could they have been here last year? Maybe, but the wood underneath where they scratched looks like pretty fresh wood. So I'm assuming these all started this spring. There's a couple over here, but not as many on this side. So you can see where it kind of looks like a cat just scratched their claws down it. So that's what I noticed first. Then I saw there were similar scratches over on this leg, but it was actually over here that I saw what I thought was a bee, but apparently was a type of wasp. And it just made a line. And I was like, okay, so that makes sense with what's been going on. Then the second wasp I saw was making those lines right there. So they seem to prefer the legs. I don't know why, but that's the wood they apparently like the best. There are some marks on my other beds. Now this one is my oldest bed, so it could just be wear and tear, or it could be the wasps. And then I definitely saw a wasp over here before on that leg of the raised bed. But it seems to be the center one that they prefer the most, even though all of these are made from the same cedar wood material. There's also some on this raised bed as well. So that's what's been going on in my garden. Now I do notice there aren't many scratches on the parts of the raised bed that are up against the herb rack. I don't know if that's because they can smell the herbs there or it's just not as easily accessible. But I'm wondering if we're kind of past the time where they would still be making their nests around. Actually, let me Google it, see if I can find an answer. Okay, so it says here, the first worker wasps start to appear late May to June. We're in June right now. New wasps then take over nest building and food collection while the queen lays eggs. By July, the nest can be the size of a football. And by August, we'll be home to thousands of wasps. So I'm wondering if this maybe stops around July. I don't know. I'll kind of keep an eye and see if it gets any worse or not. Like I said, I'll probably do the fabric sheets and make the peppermint oil spray as my first two lines of defense if this does become an issue for me. But I mean, I don't want them to scratch so much that they take a lot of wood out from my legs, since that's what's holding up the raised bed and all of my plants inside of it. So I'll keep you updated as we go throughout this year and let you know if I end up doing anything other than just monitoring for now. Let me know if this has ever happened to you, because when I posted about this online on Instagram, asking if anybody knew what was going on, a lot of other people also thought it was carpenter bees, but there were no holes. So it was not something that seems very well known or something that maybe happens a lot that's noticeable to people. So let me know if you've noticed it. Maybe check your wood furniture or your raised beds outside for any scratch marks that you don't know where they came from, and maybe it's wasps trying to make their nests. But that's going to be everything for this video. Just a quick one to give you some information that you might not know of things that could be happening in your garden. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video where hopefully nothing else is eating my raised beds.